Okie dokie, everybody. Welcome, folks. I'm Jabby Koway, joined by ACHARA KIRK.
What's up?
And this is going to be a very simple video. Just going to be two of us talking about our feelings about Will Smith doing, I guess, a comeback, you know, because he's promoting his new movie, which is called
Emancipation.
And I didn't remember the title, but I remember what it's about. All thanks to Will Smith's interview on Trevor Noah's Daily Show. And there's a link to that interview in the description below. If you haven't seen it, I do recommend you watch that because that is the basis for this conversation you're about to watch. So the title of this video should be something like, is it too soon for Will Smith to come back? Or is it too soon to forgive Will Smith? Something, etc., etc. And I grew up a huge Will Smith fan. I have fond memories of watching The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and listening to his music. I actually have one stupid, goofy memory where I was listening to Getting Jiggy With It in the car after church.
Oh, okay.
And it was blasting loud, and I had the windows down, and this cop rolled up right next to us, and I immediately just went whoop, wouldn't turn it way down. My mom started laughing. She's like, "What are you doing?" But anyway, that's stupid side story. So I watched the interview, and then ACHARA watched it separately.
Yeah.
Naturally, the conversation about the slappening came up.
The slappening.
And I try to have an independent thought from the zeitgeist. I don't know how many of you guys do. I really try to. It's like I don't subscribe hard to the left or to the right. I try to listen to both and go, okay, let me back up now and go into the bushes like Homer Simpson and think for a second. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so while I was watching it, I was like, okay, I'm having this weird experience while watching it, which is all I can think to myself is, are they going to talk about the slap? You know, that just kept coming up in my mind while Will Smith is trying to talk about his movie.
Yeah.
Which I'm listening to the foundation because there's like two ears happening at the same time. And I'm like, wow, that sounds really interesting. Are they going to talk about the slap? You know? And eventually they, of course, address it. And I want to know, okay, so that was my experience while watching it. I've been doing talking the whole time, so you go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty much the same thing. I think it's really difficult right now to watch an interview with Will Smith and not think about what happened.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's impossible. I'm sure he knew that going into the interview with Trevor Noah. I'm sorry about my voice.
That's okay, go ahead. You want some water?
Recovering from the bit.
Yeah, okay, so on Thanksgiving, we both got, did I say that at the beginning of this video?
I don't think so.
Okay, on Thanksgiving, we both got COVID, and we've been recovering ever since then. Char has actually been functional this entire time.
Yeah.
And I'm the one who's been bedridden. It seems like I'm doing like great here. I think Achara is actually doing better than me.
It's
doing
just her
okay.
Voice. It's just my voice.
It's just her voice.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So, no, I mean, I think, yeah, it's impossible for him to give any interviews right now without people wondering about, the slap, because it was such a huge thing. But I think Trevor Noah handled it in a very sensitive way. And I think that probably that had a lot to do with the reason why Will Smith agreed to go on The Daily Show, because he knows Trevor Noah personally and they're friends. And so I'm sure there was a level of comfort there where he knew that he wouldn't be ambushed. And it actually turned out to be a really great interview, I think, for Will Smith.
I guess I would have to concur with that. The interesting part for me was that, he had his, what do you call it? Media, I was going to say like photo biscuit, like weird words pop into my brain when I'm sick.
PR?
The PR thing. What do you call that? Junket. The press
junket.
Media biscuit.
I think I like media biscuit. Can we use that going forward?
So he had his press junket, interview thing ready for the movie, right? The way he was
he probably was coached by someone, or like he went through the key points of like what he really wanted to get across about the movie.
So that was very composed. And then as soon as Trevor Noah was like, let's talk about that thing, it seems like none of that was prepared. And I don't know if that was deliberate or if he just got emotional and vulnerable in a way that he wasn't expecting. Because you do all you learn your lines, and then suddenly you get on stage, and something gets harder. There's an audience there.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But anyway, because I found him kind of stammering a bit more, falling on those in-betweener words. I forgot what they're called, or I forgot what those are called. But he was falling on that a lot in that part of the interview. And I couldn't help but notice it because I've never seen him do that before, but it did make him feel more human. And
he was having a hard time because he
Yeah.
was talking about something that was difficult for him to talk about. I'm sure he feels a lot of shame about what he did,
Yeah.
and quite rightly so.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I think ultimately what I concluded was, despite all my feelings, like at the beginning of the interview, it's because it's, I'm so used to people just disappearing for a long time. Like it was a while before we saw Louis C.K. again, right? Or people just disappear forever. Just out of weird morbid curiosity, I have looked up what's going on with Kevin Spacey. Like, what's been going on with him lately? Like, where's he at? Is he in jail? Is he being punished? Like, what's going on? I think that there's a lot of us out there who maybe don't admit it, but do have strange curiosities about what's happened with these celebrities who've been banished from Hollywood or from just the globe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Excommunicated.
Yeah, exactly. And so to see Will Smith back so soon, it was just a little bit strange. And I think that's what informed my initial reaction to seeing the interview.
Well, I guess he didn't really have much of a choice, right? Because the movie's coming out, and presumably maybe he did the movie before that incident happened.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, you're the star of this movie. You have to promote the movie.
Yeah, I mean, well, they could have shelved it for a while, but who knows?
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, he's coming back quite soon is what it felt like to me. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm just not used to it based on my experiences with other celebrities who've been banished. But after the interview was over, I'm like, you know what? Maybe this is the best move. I think I would rather see Will Smith do this than hide for 10 years and come out with The Wrestler or something, like... Not that anything like that happened with Mickey Rourke. I'm just saying, like, sometimes actors disappear for a long time and then come back with this brilliant fucking performance. And, that's what I would have expected to happen to Will Smith. And I think that this is a cooler route to go because I think he has so much to offer.
Yeah.
Say what you will about him. Because I've heard all kinds of things about Will Smith, but I've also heard wonderful things, and I've had my own personal experience with him. Not that I've like talked to him, but
you breathe the same air as him, and you're in the same room.
What for his promotion for
Gemini Man?
Yeah, like I was literally like, I don't know, 6 feet from him for about an hour and a half while he was talking to the audience. Him and Clive Owen and the producer of Top Gun and all the big movies in Hollywood. I forgot his name.
Jerry Bruckheimer?
Jerry Bruckheimer, thank you. And so, watching Will Smith talk, he takes Will Smith up to a 10 when he's in front of people and whatever. But it's like, I liked that. I think that he's got so much enthusiasm and charisma that he's just very inspiring. And I understand that what he did will always be a taint on, his profile, on his name. But like, we are all imperfect. And I think that's the thing that I'm trying to constantly remind myself of. It's like nobody's perfect. And we all sit here and point our finger at the celebrities like, oh, you're supposed to be perfect. It's like, no one's fucking perfect. They're just famous. Like, nobody's perfect, man. And like Trevor Noah said something so brilliant in this interview that I never, he couldn't have phrased it better. He's like, the Oscars is this glorious event, for
us,
for
the
us,
viewer.
Yeah. But for Will Smith, it's a cookout. It's like that's where you're meeting up with all your friends again. So there's a certain comfort factor there that while we look at it as prestigious and whatnot.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It does bring a sense of perspective to everything. I mean, it was still wrong what he did, but I think the interview was really great because it humanized Will Smith, and Trevor Noah made it a point to just really emphasize the fact that he's a human being, and we're all humans, and as humans we're fallible and we make mistakes. And he had a moment, and we don't know, right? We don't know what was going on with him leading up to that night. We don't know what happened to him the 24 hours before, the day before, the week before, the month before, the year before. We don't know what he was carrying.
Yeah.
And then something triggered him. He got reactive. Like, how many times has that happened to us in our daily lives, and we've done things that we deeply regret afterwards?
Yeah.
Because, like, we're carrying around some unresolved trauma or whatever.
Right. Ultimately, what happened...
It's not an excuse, though.
It's not an excuse, but what ultimately would happen is not our problem. It's not your problem. It's Chris Rock's problem and Will Smith's problem, and that's it. if Chris Rock is done with it, or if he's not, whatever, he can continue to joke about it and whatever. And Will Smith, at a certain point, I hope would be able to joke about it as well. You know, it's like, obviously he feels awful about it.
Yeah.
Now, I think at some point he can get past it and kind of make fun of himself. And
I mean, like you said, it's going to be a taint on his whole, like the whole career
legacy
that he built up before that, which has been spotless.
Yeah.
Then this one incident is going to be the thing that everybody's going to ask him about for the rest of time.
I wouldn't say it has been spotless, but this certainly is the most noteworthy mistake.
Yeah.
Because he's had some other things in the past, but like this is the biggest one for sure. But like the biggest problem, and maybe we're feeding into it, right, is, you know, he's trying to promote this movie and shine a light on that, and his whole thing is like, I don't want people to focus on this mistake. I want people to focus on the movie. Well, actually, that's not what he said. But I know that's not what he wants. I know he wants people to focus on the movie.
Well, yeah, I mean, he made it a point to say, you know, a lot of people worked on this movie besides him.
Yeah.
And because of one thing that he did, now all of the focus is on that. And that is unfortunate. And that is what happened at the Oscars as well. You know, it's a night of celebrating all the wonderful achievements of people in the industry, and it was overshadowed by this one thing that he did.
Well, a huge thing, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's just unfortunate that, you know, promoting this film now has to be paired with that mistake. You know what I mean? Because people are just too curious and are going to ask him about it. It's like, I feel like the conversation's kind of been had, though. We can move on and let him, you know, resume his efforts to get back into doing what he does. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Sure, there's going to be a certain percentage of people who just aren't going to watch his movies anymore because they're so self-righteous or whatever. But like, okay, then don't. But like, I think that there are still there's a substantial amount of Will Smith fans. I mean, even just listening to the audience response on the interview, I'm like, there are still lots of people who are just ready and willing to buy a ticket to watch one of his movies again.
Right.
You know? And so what he did obviously is wrong.
Yes.
But I think that he's done more self-work for his mistake than most of us will ever do for any of ours. You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, he's been traveling and retreating and meditating and going through all kinds of stuff. I'm like, I think I've done worse things than that slap, and I haven't taken that much time for it. God damn. Actually, I haven't done worse things than that slap. I'm just making a joke. But you know what I mean? Like, he's really, really taking the time. So,
yeah, it's unfortunate because he's in the public eye. You know, like that could have happened perhaps to any one of us. Like, we could have had a moment and done something that we regret. But the difference is we don't have to rehash that moment every minute when we go out in public and have people ask us about it or want to know why that happened or, you know, all of that.
Yeah.
He has to do that every single time probably when he goes on a talk show.
I just really, really hope, you know what would get us past this?
What?
I bet you'd have to pay Chris Rock so much money. I just really, really hope for the day when we can watch one of those videos of Will Smith and Chris Rock react to meme slaps. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or slap memes, whatever.
I mean, I hope, I don't know what's going on between them. I don't know what conversation they've had. I hope that maybe there can be some sort of
I think if
resolution.
they were communicating or there was a resolution, it would have been headlines.
Maybe they're just like,
I think
just don't.
Yeah, I think Chris Rock is just like, I'm just done with you for now.
Yeah.
You know, and that's his right. You know?
Yeah.
It's just,
I mean, I don't know if I was Chris Rock, if I would be able to forgive him so quickly for like properly slapping me and on television.
Yeah. That's a whole other conversation.
That's
a whole other conversation. But anyway.
But should we forgive?
It's not
Will
up
Smith?
to me to forgive him. Like, there's nothing for me to forgive. That's what I realized.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not up to me.
Who is it up to then? Is it up to him?
It's up to Chris Rock and himself. And he said he's forgiven himself, which I think, while that sounds like self-aggrandizing, it's an important step in therapy, is forgiving yourself.
Yeah.
You know? It's like,
well,
okay.
yeah, realizing that you're fallible.
I just would never say that out loud. I've forgiven myself for slapping Chris Rock, but it's an important step, you know. Anyway, you guys let us know your feelings in the comments below, and that's it for now. I'm Jabby Kuwait. This is
ACHARA KIRK.
Peace out.